typologies of green spaces. So there's community spaces and a whole range of things. And we are going to give you this in a pack, this information. This has 8 criteria. It talks about, is this a welcoming place? Is it healthy, safe and secure? Is it clean and well maintained? Is it sustainable? Has it looked at conservation and heritage? Is the community involved? Is there marketing? And what's the management like? Now, you might not be able to tell all of these when you visit. It might be that you would actually need to access some documentation. Just sit down for a minute while we get through this. And what we've got for you to use is a tool that takes. So there is the green flag sites anyway, so if you want to visit that you can do. This is a schedule I've put together that takes those 8 themes and some of the key wordings underneath it. Now, if you want to change those, add anything on because you think it's more appropriate for your country, take anything off because it's not appropriate, do. And as I say, you're not going to be able to assess all of these, possibly, because if it's about management, you might not know if they've got a management plan. But this shows you the sort of thing that happens. So is it a good and safe access? Is there good signage to and in the park or green space? Do we feel there's equal access for all members of the community? You might want to add words on. And then we score it. So 1 is low and 5 is high. And on a Likert scale like this, it's good to have a range. Sometimes different local authorities have sometimes scored differently. They might go 0 to 5, they might go 1 to 15. I've just given you a condensed version for this. And then you can add it up and you can give a score to each of the criteria and then an overall score. And I do this with some of our students in our management course, and I get them, and you might, if you have time, might want to do this, score individually, and then within your group discuss it, and you will discover you have scored differently, and you'll discover what a difficult thing it is to evaluate the quality of the green space in any city, let alone put the economic value on, which we're beginning to explore at the beginning of the day. There's healthy, safe and secure, clean and well maintained, sustainability, conservation and heritage, community involvement, marketing and management. And you might not be able to tell some of these marketing and management issues, but I want you to see what the whole of this framework is like. So if you can't, just put not applicable at this stage. Don't put zeros in, because if you then add all the zeros up, that will skew your score. If you can't score them, just treat it as an invalid element for now. So that's going to be made available to you. That's the easiest of the two. The other one we're going to provide you with is something that has different sections to it. And later on one of the lectures will explain this a bit more, but what it is to score for play value. And we've developed this, we've developed this scoring mechanism after some years of work. It's been published in a journal a few years ago, 2013. Well, it was online for a year before that. So we developed this in about 2009-10 because the publication process was very long. If you ever try and publish, don't underestimate that it can sometimes take 2 years from submitting an article to getting it published. It's very frustrating. It certainly is. So what we have developed is, having looked at a lot of literature about what makes a good play space, we've come up with a theory that the more natural elements that are in it, the better the play value. And as I say, I think it's the next lecture we'll explain this in more detail. But we've used the literature to inform this. So there are 3 sections to the scoring mechanism. So has it got, the physical characteristics are about fixed play equipment and movable play equipment, and we found many parks don't have any movable play equipment. Is there open space to run and jump? And a lot of our playgrounds in the UK don't have that. and you'll see why in some presentations tomorrow. Does it have different types and sizes of spaces? Does it have vegetation, change of landform? Does it have water, sand, natural materials, loose materials? Is there obvious physical boundaries? Is there any seating? Is there a range of surfacing materials? Then we ask you to score those physical characteristics of the site. Then we ask you to look at it, and this is designed so that you do it when there are not children there, partly because when this was first developed, it had to be piloted over a summer time, and we did not have time to take an ethical approach to getting permission to observe children. So the issue was, this is looking at it from a designer's point of view. Does it allow for constructive play, functional play, fantasy play, social play, and games with rules? And some of the later pages of the document you're going to be given explain what those are a lot more, and how we've brought those together from various different pieces of literature. Then the environmental characteristics. Now, some might say they might be a bit similar to physical characteristics. What I would say, this master's student was going to go on and do a PhD, but has ended up pulling out for various personal reasons. So I'm now personally reclaiming it, and we've trialled this in China this summer. That's quite exciting, and I'm happy for you to use it here. And it's the sort of thing that we were expecting to change as we went on using it, that it wasn't so definitive. I know the tool has been used in different countries. It's been used in America, it's been used in Canada, it's been used in Iran, I think, and various other countries. So it's quite just, I haven't had time to look at all the work that's used it. It's a target to do that at some time. So under environmental characteristics, again informed by the literature, is the area enticing? And then it goes through an inviting entrance, no rigid site boundaries, complete informal oversight, accessible to both children and adults, and does it contain seating? Is the area stimulating? Does it allow for personal movement of the material, use of senses, natural elements, range of materials? Is it a challenging area? Some of our playgrounds are so boring they're not challenging at all. And there's been a big debate in our country about risk and play. Risk really being equal to challenge. I think sometimes people think risk as being a dangerous thing, but what we want to do is make play spaces that challenge children physically and emotionally and socially, perhaps. So challenging, does it allow for swimming, sliding, balancing, rocking, jumping, climbing? Are there learning opportunities? So is there access to materials for learning? Is the natural environment around and available? Can you manipulate and experiment with it? Because a lot of children learn by experimentation. And is it inclusive age-wise? So does it cater for different ages? There's a tendency in some communities and some cultures to say we should separate age groups. There's a bit of a tendency of that in our country. And it isn't necessarily good, because sometimes siblings go together, and sometimes younger ones aspire to do what the older ones do, and sometimes they might be more capable. So doing it by age isn't always a good thing. So there's all those. So that's the main mechanism. And then what you've also got in this little pack is all the background thinking to that, which is taken from the published paper, which is why there's a reference at the top of every page. So this is about the range of play equipment and how to score it. If it's very poor, it contains one of a climbing apparatus, spring-mounted something, a slide, a balance beam. If it contains all of them, you score a 5. If it contains, so this is very clearly explained. This was a real pain when we published the paper, because the reviewers didn't want us to hold anything back, and I was going, intellectual property right. But actually it means people have been able to use it in similar ways across the world when they've chosen to. So the scoring is all laid out there. And you just need, movable equipment, open space for movement, such as rolling, running up. So all those things on those first sheets are defined here for the physical characteristics. Then the play types as we identified them, the 5 play types here, constructive, functional, fantasy, social and games with rules, are brought together there from 3 different sources. And then here, there's the previous table is almost a summary of these different types, but it helps you understand what we mean by these different types of play and the different opportunities they afford children. Then the environmental characteristics, so is it enticing, and here's how to score for that. Is it stimulating, challenging, learning opportunities, is it inclusive? And then I also would like you to use this to help as you go through these next few days. We want to come up with design ideas on how to improve either the park or the playground or both. And so here's a sheet where you can just put suggested improvements. And if you're just using the green flag criteria, you could use a similar column or just keep notes anyway. So how might we improve this? Because it's about how can we improve these spaces for people, not for us, not for the powers that be. It's about improving them for the people who are going to use them, which is the philosophy that we brought to in our environment. Okay, so there's how you can write comments and suggestions.